Okay, thank you for everyone's patience. Item number 2, approval of the agenda, moved by Councillor Shabba, seconded by Councillor Owen.
Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025 be approved as circulated, and that section 15 of procedural bylaw number 1575 as amended be suspended to allow for a recess to hold public meetings prior to the commencement of regular business noted in section 4 petitions and delegations. And finally, that section 33 of procedural bylaw 1575 as amended be lifted for matters noted under section 4 petitions and delegations and section 12 additional information, only to relax the rules on discussion between members and the public, and to also allow administration to openly participate in the discussion where required.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 3, declaration of pecuniary interest. Councillor Shabba.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, I have one here, on item number 6.1. So I, Lad Shaba, am declaring indirect pecuniary interest on the agenda of the meeting dated June 3rd, 2025, an open meeting. Agenda item 6.1-1, results of final feasibility study. It's indirect. I'm a director of a private corporation and have a controlling interest in that private corporation. And the nature of my interest is that my engineering firm will likely be involved in future engineering work of the proposed fire hall if it goes ahead.
Thank you. So noted. Item number 4 will continue after a brief recess in order to do our public meetings. Yeah, okay. So public meeting number 1 is call to order at 4:44. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I hereby call this public meeting of the evening Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025, regarding the proposed 2025 user fees and charges to order. Item number 2, declaration of pecuniary interest. None noted at the table. Item number 3, summary of reports. Item 3.1, proposed 2025 public meeting. Mr. Lloyd Crocker, treasurer.
Madam Mayor and Community Council, report was already tabled at prior council meeting. I just wanted to point out a couple of changes that happened in the schedules attached to that report. The first one is we added as a fee under the Treasury Department for tax sale documents. We just recently found out that we're being charged $25 per package to have these documents prepared. So we're looking to recover that amount whenever somebody comes and takes a tax sale package. The second change is a correction under the community services fees. You should have received an email explaining the correction. It's essentially just a mistake when we transcribe from the original documents into the fees list. There's no significant change caused by it. Yeah, that's everything.
Thank you. Item number 4, confirmation of notice. Madam Clerk, how was notice given?
Notice of the public meeting was given in accordance with the town of Kirkland Lakes notice bylaw 2247 by publishing said notice on the town's website more than 14 days in advance, and as of May 5th, 2025. Supplemental notice was published in the local newspaper, which is the Northern News, on May 15th, 2025, the May edition of the municipal update, through the town's various social media streams and within daily local radio broadcasts. The notice was subsequently amended for ease of information on May 23rd, 2025, to include the links to the report to council and proposed schedule as presented to council on May 20th, 2025.
Thank you. Item number 5, correspondence received. Madam Clerk, was there any correspondence received from members of the public on waste management service level changes?
Madam Mayor, confirm that correspondence was received by the Kirkland Lake Women's Slow Pitch Organization. At their request, it will be read by a representative of the organization in the next section as part of the public comment portion of the meeting.
Thank you. I did want to correct that. I didn't just say waste management. This is not the waste management. This is the user fees. Item number 6, comments and questions. Before I ask my next question, I just want to remind all members of council that this is a public meeting and there is to be no discussion or debate with members of the public. Madam Clerk, has anyone registered to provide comments or pose questions in person or electronically?
Madam Mayor, I confirm that no one has asked the clerk's office to register or to request to participate electronically in this public meeting.
Perfect. Okay. I will now ask members of the public to line up in the center aisle. You will have the opportunity to provide your comments or pose your questions, and you may only speak once. Please state your name and address for the clerk. Any members of the public to speak? Yes, welcome.
Hi, Megan McLaughlin, Three Tower. So I'm here on behalf of the Women's Slow Pitch League. Just gonna review the letter that was submitted. To whom it may concern, the Kirkland Lake Women's Slow Pitch League are asking for consideration for changes to the rates paid for field usage at the town's fair and civic fields. For years, we have consistently paid whatever rates are in play with little complaint. That being said, part of our understanding has been that a portion of the cost of the field usage is for having the field prep, graded, lines drawn, etc. But none of this is completed between the first and second games. If we're being expected to pay the same rate, why is the field not maintained to the same level? Our request is to either have game two's cost lowered or have the field maintained between games. Additionally, we have played at the Baird Field for the last 3 years with lights that either don't work or fail partway through the game. This has not only been a safety concern playing night games in near darkness, but on top of that, there has been no price adjustment or discount applied for the league. Our league used to offer a tournament each summer, which typically brought teams from out of town. This has largely been put on hold since COVID. For a tournament, which is also in part a fundraiser for our league, we pay a per game fee. We have asked in the past to have a tournament rate or per day rate to aid in the expenses associated with the tournament, but were denied. Simply put, we were told we don't want to hear what other communities are doing. Again, the field is not maintained between all games and is sometimes only graded once throughout the play. We ran a tournament last year and field costs for 2 days were over $1,000. This is untenable. We would like council to consider implementing a tournament rate or at least per day rate, which makes running a tournament more financially feasible for our and potentially other organizations. Similar rates do exist in other northern communities. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We do appreciate your input. Any further comments or concerns from members of the public? None noted. Item number 7, consideration of proposed bylaws. There are none. Madam Clerk, please read the direction stemming from this public meeting.
That council received the comment questions from members of the public, and finally that the draft bylaws and corresponding schedules as amended be brought forward for further discussion and deliberation at the June 18th, 2025 regular meeting of the council.
Thank you. This is a recommendation moving forward. Item number 8 is adjournment. This concludes the public meeting for the proposed 2025 user fees and charges for this evening. Thank you to those who spoke. We shall move directly into public meeting number 2. I hereby call this public meeting of Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025, regarding the proposed increase to municipal water and wastewater rates to order at 4:51 p.m. Item number 2, declaration of pecuniary interest. I see none raised at the table. Thank you. Item number 3, summary of reports. Item 3.1, proposed increase to municipal water and wastewater rates. Again, our treasurer, Mr. Lloyd Crocker. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bring through to council again. The report was tabled at a previous council meeting with the details to support the schedules and rates included. I have no further comments other than to draw your attention to that.
Thank you. Item number 4, confirmation of notice. Madam Clerk, how was the notice given?
Notice of the public meeting was given in accordance with the Town of Kirkland Lakes Notice Bylaw 2247 by publishing said notice on the town's website more than 14 days in advance and as of May 5th, 2025. Supplemental notice was published in the local newspaper, Mojo News, on May 15th, 2025, the May edition of the municipal update through the town's various social media streams and within daily local radio broadcasts. The notice was subsequently amended for ease of information on May 23rd, 2025 to include the links to the report to council and proposed schedule as presented to council on May 20th, 2025.
Thank you. Item number 5, correspondence received. Madam Clerk, was there any correspondence received from members of the public surrounding waste management service level fee changes?
Madam Mayor, confirmed that one correspondence was received by Mr. Lawrence J. Sampson from 147 Pollock Avenue on June 2nd, 2025. An excerpt of the letter will be read as it relates to the public meeting this evening. To the town of Kirkland Lake regarding 2, the proposed increase in both water and sewage taxes. 2, regarding the proposed increase in water and sewage taxes. Enough is enough. I am a senior living in my own home alone, and my OAS and CPP income does not increase at nearly a rate that I can keep up. I pay my taxes every year without fail, and my water bill, etc. Instead of going after the citizens who are paying your salaries, I would suggest that you have your bill collector assert themselves a little harder, collecting from those who are not paying their way in order that you can achieve the budget you desire. It is not fun having to keep juggling funds to be able to keep a home going on a fixed income. You are pushing lower income homeowners into having to sell their homes with no place else to live. Apartments are out of the question financially, and Tech Pioneer has a waiting list as long as my arm. To be 100% truthful, I prefer to live in my own home for as long as I am physically able to, sincerely.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item number 6, comments and questions from members of the public. Again, before I ask my next question, I would remind all members of council that at this public meeting, there is no discussion or debate with members of the public. Madam Clerk, has anyone registered to provide comments or pose questions in person or electronically?
Madam Chair, confirm that no one has asked the clerk's office to register or to request to participate electronically in this public meeting.
Thank you. I will now invite members of the public to line up in the center aisle. You will have an opportunity to provide your comments or pose questions. You may only speak once, and please state your name and address for the clerk. Anyone care to speak this evening? There is no members of the public that appear to wish to speak. So we'll move on to item number 7, consideration of proposed bylaws. There are none. Madam Clerk, please read the directions stemming from this public meeting.
The council received the comments, questions from members of the public, and finally that the draft bylaw and corresponding schedule be brought forward for further discussion and deliberation at the June 18th, 2025 regular meeting of council.
Thank you. This is the recommendation moving forward. Item number 8, adjournment. This concludes the public meeting for proposed increase to municipal water and wastewater rates. And so now we will rise again from that recess to the regular meeting. Item number 4 is petitions and delegations. Item number 4.1, David Boggs Hassan, Integrity Commissioner, 2024-2025 Annual Report. Welcome, sir.
Can you hear me, Madam Mayor?
We can, we're just working on your video.
Yeah, for some reason I am not getting video. I had it earlier. I apologize, but in any event, I'll proceed audio only for now. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and members of council. I'm pleased to present my first annual report to council on the activities of the Integrity Commissioner during my first term, my first year of office as your Integrity Commissioner. I did not have to receive no complaints and therefore had to conduct no investigations during my first year of office for the town of Kirkland Lake. So congratulations on your spotless record for ethics and transparency thus far. I only received 2 requests for advice from members of council. One was related to the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, and another was related to an issue regarding the holding of a closed meeting. I also fielded inquiries from a member of the news media concerning the role of the Integrity Commissioner and whether I had undertaken any investigations during my term as Integrity Commissioner. I did not provide any education or training during my first year in office as your Integrity Commissioner. I was given to understand that council did not wish to receive any such training. I am, however, would be happy to provide training. We have a pretty comprehensive PowerPoint presentation that takes about an hour and 15 and an hour and 20 minutes, not including questions. If you're interested in being educated on both the Code of Conduct and the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Finally, I did not receive any gifts and benefit disclosure statements, which members are supposed to submit pursuant to Section 9.6 of the Code of Conduct. If they do, in fact, receive any gifts or benefits above a certain monetary threshold, I just want to remind members to keep it in mind that if you do receive gifts or benefits, you are required to provide me through the clerk with a gift and benefit disclosure statement. That concludes my report. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions or comments from members of council? None noted. We do appreciate your time this evening, and we are very proud that we did not need to use your services. So thank you very much for your time this year, and we shall see in the upcoming year. This is the last year of our term, but I expect that we've managed to be an excellent team thus far, and I count on that continuing. So thank you very much this evening. May I have a mover for this report? Councillor Owens, seconded by Councillor Owens.
Be it resolved that the delegation entitled Integrity Commissioner 2024-2025 annual report be received for education.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimous. Thank you again.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Have a good evening. Item number 5, acceptance of minutes and recommendations. 5.1, council minutes moved by Councillor Shaba, seconded by Councillor Owens.
Be it resolved that council approve the minutes of the following meetings, minutes of the regular meeting of council held May 20th, 2025, and minutes of the public meeting held May 20th, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 5.2, committee minutes moved by Councillor Owens, seconded by Councillor Owens.
Be it resolved that council adopt the minutes of the following meetings, minutes of the Kirkland Lake Committee of Adjustment held April 22nd, 2025, and minutes of the Tech Pioneer Residence Committee of Management held February 24th, 2025.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item 5.3, local and regional board minutes moved by Councillor Owen, seconded by Councillor Shaba.
Be it resolved that council receive the minutes of the following meetings, minutes of the District of Timiskaming Social Services Administration Board of Directors held March 19th, 2025 and April 23rd, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 6, reports of municipal officers and communications. 6.1, results of the fire hall feasibility study moved by Councillor Owens, seconded by Councillor Owen. And this will be presented by Earl Grigg, Director of Emergency Services, along with Luke Jobbin, Senior Architectural Project Manager of JL Richards and Associates. So welcome to the table. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Through you, Madam Chair, the whole council. So we did put it out for JL Richards to do a feasibility study. We conducted multiple meetings through Kirkland Lake staff and JL Richards to propose 3 sites. Through the site process that we chose were sites that were previously owned by the municipality. We felt the costing was better to keep it in line. So through this, JL Richards was able to come up with a matrix of the viability of each site, which Luke will go through tonight. And we're looking for approval of the next steps of the sites, and with the will of council, we're glad to see it reach to this point. So we can take over.
Yeah, for sure. I did send a presentation.
We are loading it
Okay.
up as we speak.
Perfect. So. We'll start right into, if you go to the next slide, right into the agenda, so we'll go through the introductions. Programming, conceptual design, site plan, site selection, order of magnitude, which is the costing, as well as next steps and project schedule. So this kind of summarizes the feasibility report into a few slides. I'll go through it. If there's any questions, feel free to just let me know. We can skip right into the next slide. So part of the assignment was to also look at 3 building options, conceptual designs of the building. So we developed 3 building options. One's described as a 1-story option and then a 2-story option. Both options being available to be also green building options if you guys do choose to go that way. The green building option is the same floor as a 2-story design, but it's going to be designed to meet the net zero carbon design requirements. So going to the next slide. The 3 sites that were identified that we assessed through this report were the site Macassa Lane, that's site A, the Queens Park site, site B, and Archer Drive site, site C. Further, we can go to the next slide, sorry. Further programming, the JLR began reviewing the program requirements with that were outlined within the RFP documents, and we compiled a list of questions. And through discussions with the town of Kirkland Lake, the program requirements were further redefined and 3 conceptual design options have been completed. So I'll go a little more detail now into those. So for the space requirements, the technical and functional space requirements for the proposed fire hall designs were based on current needs and forecasted growth of the proposed facility. It was indicated that a maximum of 44 firefighters volunteer in full-time within the facility, 6 full-time firefighters per shift, 1 admin staff member. Private firefighter quarters including laundry facilities, fitness room, kitchen, lounge area, private washrooms, showers, and dorms are also included. Office space for the fire chief and administration staff has been accounted for. The facility also houses a training room. The purpose for this space is to accommodate written exams, training, lectures, seminars, and large meetings. The apparatus bay portion of the facility can accommodate all of the town of Kirkland Lake's current fleet. The apparatus bay capacity is the maximum size required for the community, and no further expansion is anticipated. So we can go to the next slide there. So for the functional program, the town of Kirkland Lake and JLR developed 2 bubble diagrams for the proposed facility based on all those space requirements. The 2 bubble diagrams included a 1-story and a 2-story option, and both options included the space identified in the space requirements. Both options have public entrances which access the front of house spaces, including office, administration areas, and training areas. A separate firefighter entrance is located at the rear of the facility to provide direct access to private firefighter quarters. The relationship between the spaces in the facility are crucial to facilitate shorter emergency response time. The diagrams provide access from all ancillary spaces to the gear storage and apparatus bay. The two-story option includes a private firefighter quarter on the second floor to allow enhanced privacy for the occupants. So we can skip right to the next one. Thank you. So overview of the one-story option there. So we've got the apparatus bay on the right side, on the left side of the building. And everything, like I mentioned, is all on one story. So the quarters, the sleeping quarters are all to the north of the building. The south of the building is more the public spaces, admin offices. And then we also have, just trying to zoom into my plan here too there. Locker rooms, showers, and all those areas as well, all identified, all on one floor. The next slide shows conceptual designs, 3D renderings of the facility. And if we go to the next slide, it goes through the option 2, which is a 2-story option, same type of spaces. What we've done is taken all of the dorms, the accommodation, the firefighting accommodations, moved out to the second floor. So it gives them that clear delineation and privacy as well. And then the next one is a rendering, which is very similar to the first one. It's just showing the second story there. Next slides, we're gonna go through the sites. The 2 sites that we developed a couple of conceptual site plans to provide us with the guidance on the size of site that we need. That includes all of the required parking, as well as all of the traffic flow for firefighting equipment, trucks, and all that stuff. So option 1, which is up on the screen right now. And then option 2 is taking the 2-story option. So it's a little more compressed of a site because we have a little less of the footprints. The next few slides is site selection, where we're gonna go through the existing sites and the 3 options and what we reviewed there. So the 3 options, as I mentioned, were Macassa Lane, Queens Park, and Archer Drive. The rating criteria that we went through, so JLR and Town and Kirkland Lake developed an evaluation criteria for the 3 sites. The 5 main criteria within the evaluation were the following: size, shape and access, response time for emergency calls, neighboring property use compatibility, existing infrastructure and required upgrades, and required site development. So based on the evaluation criteria, it appears that the Archer Drive site is the most compatible with the project as a whole. Of the 3 sites, Archer Drive is the most suitable in terms of land use and would potentially require the least amount of money to develop. The second most suitable appears to be the Queens Park site. The Macassa Lane site is noted to have more potential risks and complexities than the other 2 sites and would require purchase and of adjacent lands to meet the size, shape, and access requirements for the project. The evaluation were not based on geotechnical information, as it's not available at the time and of this study being completed. It's highly recommended that the next steps would be a geotechnical investigation. That information be gathered, reviewed prior to the final site selection. Moving into order of magnitude, which we assessed costing. Now, this is very high level. There hasn't been any cost consultants. It's just right now just to put some figures to this potential project here. The two option, the option with the lowest building cost is the one-story option. This is largely due to the additional space required for the two-story option, mainly stairwells and elevators. The net zero carbon option may all allow for additional avenues for funding and would potentially have lower maintenance costs, but would have significant cost upfront due to added insulation and more building, efficient building systems. So that's one thing to note. I do understand that net zero carbon, there is funding available for those types of projects. What I do tell my clients though is, don't count on the funding. If it's an avenue that is near and dear and you guys want to follow, to ensure that you have that capital cost to be able to foresee the project. And then afterwards, you guys can go and apply for funding, or during the design, apply for funding to offset some of those costs. So this little grid here shows the three options, and this is just building only. So for option one, the one story, a total area of just under 20,000 square feet, so 19,400 square feet. At a rate of $800 per square foot, the building would be $15.52 million. For the option two-story, that one there is 21,575 square feet, same square footage rate. And the cost would be 17.26 million.
Sorry.
Yep.
Counselor Dykens?
Can I ask a quick question for clarity? Option 1, 2, and 3, like you've used that before, so, but this is just all for Archer Drive, options?
I'll go into my next slide, breaks it up per site.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, thank you.
No, thank you for that. Sorry for the interruption.
No worries. Option 3 is the net zero carbon. So that one there, we took the two-story option and we've applied a square footage cost of $1,100 a square foot, which would bring the cost of $23.73 million. The next slide goes is for the total project costs. So that's assessing the sites as well. So that it also, we've included a 25% contingency because of where we are with the project, so conceptual right now. Overall, the Archer Drive site presents the lowest cost at this time. Macassa Lane has many unknowns which are not represented in numbers, and potentially cost more than figures shown here. From my understanding, the Macassa site, Lane site, has a little more environmental items that would have to be considered. And that's why there's a lot of unknowns with that one site in particular. These figures also don't include any additional costs related to any complexity in soil conditions or any recommendations from the geotechnical investigations there. So if we look at the Macassa Lane site for the one option, that's full site development and everything, it's 24.4 million. Option 2 is a two-story is 26.8. And net zero carbon is 35.7. Queens Park, they're relatively close to each other when you're looking at it. So Queens Park 24.5. Option 2, 26.8, option 3, 35.79. And then Archer Drive, the one story is 24.39, the two story is 26.78, and the net zero carbon is 35.68. And if we go to the next slides, would be project schedule. So here we've just mapped out just a little bit of a next steps type of schedule, just to kind of give you some information on what's required to keep moving this along. So what would be the next step is pre-design, which is about 2 to 4 months. Town of Kirkland Lake to select the design option if you guys want to proceed with 1 or 2 two-story, or if we're looking at the green building option as well. To select a site based on the site evaluation provided. and acquire geotechnical information on the proposed site. Topographical and legal survey of the proposed site. Would be the next steps as well. So this here just kind of maps out what we'd be looking at. So you've got pre-design 2 to 4 months, schematic design, we're about 2 to 4 months as well. Then to do all the engineering and contract documents, you're looking at 8 to 10 months. For the tender period, that's usually 1 month. Construction would be about 18 to 20 months. So in total, if we were to start tomorrow, you're looking at a 2.5 year process there. And that concludes the presentation. Thank you very much for your time, and open to any questions or additional questions at all.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. We do appreciate your time. That was a very involved report that was given to us, so definitely very technical, but we do appreciate it being presented to the public as well for their understanding. Before I open the floor to members of council, I just want to help members of the community understand the numbers. And I want to strongly draw attention to page 6 of the report under financial considerations. It states, with respect to the 3 proposed design options, a high-level order of magnitude costing exercise was completed. It is important to note that the level of accuracy of the exercise is less than that of a Class D option. Of probable construction costs, largely due to the number of unknowns with the project. So just a little history on Class D estimates within the town of Kirkland Lake. In 2019, council passed a motion brought with a report to council delivered by former council member Patrick Adams that saw the amendment to the procurement bylaw to require all soft costs be included and submitted with Class D estimates before funding can be provided for a capital project. In that discussion, it was presented that the accuracy of Class D estimates vary from 20 to 30%. As per the definition of high level order of magnitude costing used in the report, it offers an accuracy range, according to the internet, of between -25 to +75%. For the purpose of allowing decision makers to assess the feasibility and prioritize projects based on the limited information. At 30% rate of accuracy of a Class D estimate, it could cost the town another 8 million on this project. At a 75 worst case scenario, that's another 20 million added to this project. And that's at today's costing. And who knows how cost will increase in the next 2 to 3 years before the project may even begin. So there is no doubt that Kirkland Lake requires a new fire hall. However, I don't want the community to feel as blindsided by the numbers presented as it has in the past. This term of council, we had the Taylor Avenue project that we believed was going to cost X amount of millions, but when it came to, it was triple the cost. So, and of course, what also comes to mind is a multi-million-dollar project of the pool that began at one number and escalated very quickly to a different number. So all that, a lot of words to say that even though we're presenting a figure of 27 million possibly at the one range, that is not at all what this project may cost 3 years, 5 years down the line. So I just really strongly want to note to members of the public that the numbers provided is to give us the idea of what this may cost. Not to say definitively, these are the numbers that we're going to be working with. So I do appreciate the time to reiterate that. Now I'll open the floor to members of council. Do you have any questions or comments regarding this report? Councillor Owen.
Yes, I have through you, your worship, I have a few questions or concerns. Exactly where on Archer Drive is this? Is this where the dog park is now?
Through your madam Mayor, to Councilor Hall. No, it's the one corner section of the snow dump property that we're currently using through Public Works. It's the wooded lot section.
Okay.
So we're not gonna interfere with the public works of the during the snow removal in the winter time. This is a wooded lot, so it's actually not in use currently. And it's an undisturbed piece of property as well. So that's why we're hoping with the geotechnical, when it comes back, that we're not gonna run into any unknown issues where we could at the other sites.
Okay, I asked that question because if it was where the dog park is, we'd have to factor that into cost. So we'd have to find them a new dog park, so the dog people will be happy, thank you. These numbers that the station is being built for, seem very high to me. 44 firefighters, 6 full-time and 1 administration. My understanding right now is that we have 0 administration. I believe a platoon chief and 2 firefighters. Plus the chief during the day. 44 firefighters would be ideal. But I don't think we have anywhere near that in terms of volunteer and professional. So to me, on first glance, this appears to be an overbuild. Which would be fine if we had the money to overbuild for future growth. But we have to watch every penny that we spend. So I'm concerned about it being based on those numbers. And I know those numbers are future numbers, but I don't think we can afford to build for the future. We have to build for now. And the design that could be added on. And that's a common practice in architecture, is to build so you can expand. And that's built into your design, whether you expand up, which is, I think, more expensive, or expand outwards. So I would like to see that come into consideration. Also, I was gonna say, it looks to me like we're building a Cadillac, but we only need a Chev. But I'm gonna update that. It looks to me like we're building a Lexus when we only need a Corolla. Including a gym in the fire hall. Yes, in an ideal world where we have lots of money to spend, I'd be all in favor of that. But we already have a town gym the firefighters can access. And I don't consider that important to saving my house. In terms of the training room, I didn't see the dimensions, but it looked very large. We also have space at the complex that could be used for training. And so I have to wonder, do we really need that big of a training room? I think, you know, look, and I've, as the chief knows, I've been pushing for a new fire hall for a long time. But in all good conscience, I can't go back to the ratepayers and ask them for all the bells and whistles when we're cutting back everywhere else. And that's my problem, because in an ideal world, I'd say, yeah, this is great, wonderful, let's go for it. But I think we have to step it in. That's my comment.
Thank you for that. Anything further from members of council? Councillor Dyken?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through to the chief and the gentleman from the consulting company. Obviously, a lot of work went into this and everything considered. And we all value the service of our firefighters, and we understand well, maybe not understand, but we know there's inherent risks in what they do every day. And so we appreciate that and we thank them for what they do. I think we all voted earlier on that we were in support of moving towards a new fire hall. Not at 27 to 40 million dollars. We're in financial challenging times right now. We're still paying off TPR for the building. So I'm in support of a fire station, but none of these, and not at this time. Maybe we can, as my co-counselor said, we can step into it, like work towards it, but I don't know, but we can't, I don't think we can afford it at this time without putting undue financial challenges on our residents.
Thank you for those comments. I will ask the treasurer to come up and speak about, portions in the report, specifically noting, the timeline for costing and that TPR loan.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, would you re-ask the question?
So I just wanted you to speak to the portion of the report that noted, the loan of TPR and the connection with the due dates that was mentioned in the report.
To Madam Mayor, to the rest of council. So right now, the TPR loan will be paid off in 2028. It's approximately $500,000 a year.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. And there was a point also made regarding gym facilities. I do understand that there may be a purpose for that in regulations or something. I'll get the chief to speak to that.
Thank you through you, Madam Mayor, to council. So our biggest worry in the fire service is heart attacks. So physical fitness should be a very big part of our job. Currently, right now, an hour of their day goes toward physical fitness at the fire station. If we want to cut down heart attacks and physical issues, we should be increasing it, not decreasing it. A lot of the equipment too this layout, design, we currently have at the station. But unfortunately, like our treadmill, it sits on the apparatus floor with a diesel truck running beside it. It's not really inherently good for us to breathe this in. The equipment storage, bunker gear. 2 NPA rewrites ago, that gear should not be stored on the same apparatus floor as trucks. We still currently do it. It's proven it's a cancer causing agent. And that if you're a firefighter, regardless if you're full-time or a volunteer, and you have up to 10 times more chance of coming into the job and getting cancer. We've gone through a WSIB claim last month for a volunteer that has cancer. It's presumptive legislation, like the government currently right now in Ontario, we have 19 cancers. That if you put 10 years of fire service, you're being paid. This is something that has always sat on the back burner and it needs to come to the forefront. So we need to start, let's stop killing people with heart attacks and let's prevent cancers. And this design was looked at as our current structure is 89 years old. So we sat down as a group and we were looking at 100-year building. So this building's gonna last us for the next 100 years. Average fire hall design, 50 years. At 25 years, it's a retrofit. The building has never seen a retrofit, besides the wash bay that was put on the structure by the staff. It wasn't even contracted out, it was the staff that did this job. So, there's lots of heart in the department. And the council, you've been very supportive to the station. We're very grateful for that. And if we can cut anywhere, we're definitely gonna cut as tight as we can. And this is such a broad overview. As we go through the steps, and I'm not asking for the whole shot of money today. I'm asking just for the next step. Let's get us down the road 2 blocks. I don't wanna go to Toronto today. I just wanna get a little further. And so with your blessing, I'd be very grateful.
I do appreciate that. Councillor Owens?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think unfortunately, the not at this time is no longer an option. too many council members have sat in these chairs and passed the buck down, passed the buck down, passed the buck down. And now we're one, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, we're one heating apparatus coming through the roof of a station away from having this building shut down. What happened as a council? What happens when that building gets condemned for an unsafe work environment? Where do we put our trucks? Where do we put our personnel? I do not want to be that council that, oh, well, you know what, not, I'm not jumping for joy at $24 million. I could see my tax bill going up. But there's options out there. PPR will be done paying at one point. There may be funding opportunities through AMO, I think this summer. So I think we can be narrow-minded and say, no, we're stopping this here. I think we need to move to the next step. Not sign the big check, just next step, $50,000 for the feasibility study and move from there.
For that, CEO Smith?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, to members of the council. Yeah, I just do want to stress that this is a staged approach. And the first part is the pre-design. You know, so the objective tonight is to agree to a site. And what the site is, Archer Drive, but we need to do a geotechnical survey to even to consider that as a possibility. And there's probably some more issues we have to address on the site. Also to really look at design, what is preferred. The fire chief in our conversations has recommended a 2-story structure. That is his recommendation. And also for our funding, as mentioned, TPR will be coming to an end, which was opportunity to have some financing opportunities possibly. I have submitted an application to AMO to delegate in August and to delegate on our situation and see if there's any possible funding opportunities. The Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing used to have a fund that was for funding fire halls. That was a few years ago. So they have done in the past. So let's investigate. So tonight, we were just looking at a staged approach. We're not looking to build a fire hall tomorrow. It's just the first steps. At least we can look at design and a location and go from there. Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Dickens, did you wanna speak? I noticed you had your hand up prior to. No? Okay, looks okay.
Maybe come back.
Okay, Councillor Owen.
Yeah, through you, your worship, as per usual, I went off on a tangent. And of course, my first concern is always the impact it's gonna have on residents. And also, in terms of safety, the impact it's gonna have as well, okay? But I did not mention that there were many things in this design that I liked that have to do with health and safety, like your proper washing facility for contaminated, what do you call it, chief?
Bunkers,
The clothes you wear to your
the bunker gear.
bunker gear. There's a number of things in this that we don't currently have. I assume there's proper hose drying facility in the new design, which currently we don't really have. As I remember it, on my tours, it was strung out in the basement at one time. I don't know if it's still being done that way, but it's less than ideal. Both from a work point and from a practical, like, it's not good for the hoses, it's not efficient. So I just wanted to say, there's a lot of things in the design I like. I just don't think at this point in time. I'm all in favor of the new fire hall. We have to have a new fire hall. I'm just not convinced that the options we are offered here are what we can afford at this point in time. I'd rather see us build something smaller or more compact that has the essential safety stuff designed so that we can build out on the same lot as the town grows. And that would ease the burden to the ratepayers who provide, hopefully, I mean, I want to provide the firefighters with what they need. And I'm just afraid we go too far along in this, with these concepts, then we spend too much money and we're tied into this design. That's my concern. But in terms of the geotechnical work or whatever you engineers wanna call it, yeah, we need to do that. We need to do that to build anywhere. So, yeah, I'm all in favor of going ahead with that.
Counselor Dyken.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So are, are we able to do that? Like, so we take the next step in terms of the geophysical survey, but not be locked into a particular design because I don't care how quickly we grow. That's a really, really expensive fire hall, and I don't know if there's, I see other communities around that have built for less than half of that, and I'm not disrespecting your work, I understand, if we had the money, I'd build it tomorrow, but I'm just concerned about the financial weight on our residents. Again, I'm for a new fire hall, just not this one at this time.
Yeah, at this time, I just want to remind all of council that amendments can be made to motions on the floor.
Motion is.
Sorry, I'll have Madam Clerk read the motion.
Okay, it was moved by Counselor,
Sorry.
Casey Owens.
Yep.
Seconded by Counselor Rick Owens.
Mhm.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 FES 001 entitled Results of the Fire Hall Feasibility Study be received, and that council reserve 5 acres of part mining claim L1354 parcel 368510 Archer Drive site for the future development of a municipal fire hall, subject to the results of geotechnical study and other pertinent requirements, and that $50,000 be drawn from the working capital reserve, conduct geotechnical survey, determine the feasibility of part mining claim L1354 parcel 368510 Archer Drive site for the future location of the municipal fire hall. And finally, the council approve the 2-story building design option for the future development of a municipal fire.
Thank you. I would also like to remind members of council that we have made multiple decisions at this table for future planning, be it a 10-year roads plan or a 10-year fleet management plan that are liquid documents as well. Just because we make a decision today doesn't mean that us as council in a year from now may make a different decision or alter our decision, or a future council may also change. So just because we make a decision today based on what is presented, doesn't mean that it can't change in the future. Councillor Owens and then Councillor Dyken.
So through you, Madam Mayor, in the document, so we're here conceptual design. So we move to the next step, pre-design, and then comes after that schematic design. So at that point, I'm assuming you come back to council and present ideally what we would build. So at that point, council could have the input and say, no, okay, like, yes, that plan was nice, but we can cut down, like, we don't need 10 bedrooms, we can cut down to 3 bedrooms, we can cut out the size of the auditorium, or we can add some, so. As this motion, all we're committing to right now is, okay, we're gonna do a survey on a piece of land that would, where we can possibly sit a 2-story building, that's all we're committing to, right?
Yep, Councillor Dyken and then CAO Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not, I guess I'm reading it differently then. I don't think we're just, asking for a geophysical survey. If we were, that's great. I think we're kind of we're approving a 2-story building design option for future development. So that's my hesitancy is,
CAO Smith and then Councillor Owen.
I think a few Madam Mayor too, members of council. With respect to the potential cost of this, which is potentially be in the upper 20 millions. I think although we have to do more detailed costing and so forth. I think this presents the idea that, some of the public may think, well, it's a $5 million job. No, it's not. Okay, you are looking at in the 20 millions, upper 20s, maybe more. So the idea that this could be done for 3 or 4 million, it's just not gonna happen. Okay, I mean, this is a big ticket item. And if we approve a 2-story tonight, to Councillor Owen's point, when we get to the stage of the actual design work, that all that can be manipulated and adjusted and so forth. And even that stage itself, when we get to that stage, we will have to incorporate into the budget. That's a very expensive undertaking, is design drawings, etc. But it's that stage that we can then the changes to a design. Is the recommendation of the fire chief that a two staff is preferred. Which is recognized in the report.
Counselor Owen,
Yes, so your worship, in good conscience, I cannot second that motion if the two-story fire hall stays within the motion. If it's changed to read fire hall at that location, I can second the motion. I know we can change things, but I don't like to pass something that stipulates something when we're not at the point of stipulating it. So I propose an amendment
there you go.
to the motion. The clerk can put the proper wording in, but to build a fire hall instead of. I don't know, is fire hall proper?
It would be to remove the last cycle of it.
Yeah.
I would like to second.
Counselor Owens, Counselor Duncan, Owen, and Counselor Duncan.
Can I read it for?
Yeah, absolutely.
So moved by Councillor Rick Owen and seconded by Councillor Dolly Dykens, that the recommendation be amended to remove the last paragraph of the proposed recommendation.
I was the,
So this is the amendment.
do we need an amendment if the mover just amends it? We've done it before,
Yeah, you can do.
so we wouldn't need the
There we
amendment, I can just move.
Make it easy.
Instead of, exactly, instead of adding steps after
Yeah.
step, I know like. We seem to like to add steps. We don't need for steps, we just keep it
Absolutely.
simple. I move
There we
that,
go.
we strike the last sentence, let's just.
Okay.
Perfect, that
There you
works
go.
out well, no amendment needed. Okay. So just for clarification purposes, I will have Madam Clerk read the motion now.
Moved by Councillor Casey Owen, seconded by Councillor Rick Owen. It resolved that report number 2025 FES 001 entitled Results of the Fire Hall Feasibility Study be received. That council reserve 5 acres of part of mining claim L1354 parcel 3685 TEM Archer Drive site for the future development of a municipal fire hall, subject to the results of a geotechnical study and other pertinent requirements. And finally, that $50,000 be drawn from the Bergen Capital Reserve to conduct a geotechnical survey to determine the suitability of part of mining claim L1354 parcel 3685 TEM Archer Drive site for the future location of the municipal fire hall.
Any further comments? All in favor? Opposed, item carried unanimous, thank you very much. Thank you. Item number 6.2, health and safety water stream funding opportunity, moved by Counselor Dyken, seconded by Counselor Owen. Madam Clerk, I'll have you read the motion before we start talking a certain.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 PW 008 entitled Health and Safety Water Stream funding opportunity be received. And finally, the county supports the submission of a funding application under the province of Ontario's Health and Safety Water Stream for stormwater infrastructure upgrades, specifically the Allen Avenue Storm Sewer Upgrade and the Rand Creek Culvert Crossing at Earl Street as identified in EXP's 2024 Flood and Conceptual Remedial Options Report.
Thank you, and this report will be given by Director of Public Works, Stefan Forte. May proceed.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Province of Ontario has launched a new funding stream to assist municipalities in upgrading critical water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure, particularly projects that enhance safety and resilience in the face of extreme weather. In alignment with this initiative, administration is recommending the submission of a funding application that combines two of our most pressing stormwater infrastructure needs, which is the Allen Avenue Storm Sewer Upgrade and the Rand Creek Culvert Crossing at Earl Street. Both projects were identified as high priority in EXP's 2024 flood and conceptual remedial options report, with infrastructure currently at risk of imminent failure. The Allen Avenue storm sewer is not typical and is below the elevation of the nearby creek. It's nearly full of sediment, making cleaning impossible and raising concerns about system failure. Similarly, the aging culverts on Earl Street are severely deteriorated and compromising the capacity and integrity of Rand Creek. By combining both sites into one application, we're not only pursuing a more comprehensive approach to flood risk mitigation, but also increasing the strategic value of our submission. If successful, the town could receive up to 73% in provincial funding for this project, approximately 1.6 million for the $2.2 million project. The town's share would be just over $600,000 plus HSO. I respectfully seek council support for this important application. This is a proactive investment, community safety, infrastructure reliability, and long-term sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? Councillor Owen?
Yeah, I fully support the application. And again, this is a situation where we're moving ahead in steps, doing what we can afford, when we can afford it. And if we get the funding, then great, we can do it. If not, then we have to delay it. But again, it's not everything at once in the report. It's step by step what we can afford. So I support it.
Thank you. Councillor Owens?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I see the deadline is June 26th. Does that mean if we're successful in getting this money, the work gets done this year, or is this for next year?
For your Madam Mayor, this project, I believe, if I remember correctly, would have a start date of 2026 and would roll all the way into 2029. Oh,
Anything further from members of council? Nothing noted. All in favor? Opposed, none noted. I declare it unanimous. Item number 6.3, post budget approval request, water treatment plant, filter number 4, moved by Councillor Shabba, seconded by Councillor Owens.
Be it resolved that report number by PW 009 entitled Post Budget Approval Request, Water Treatment Plant Filter number 4 be received. That council approve the revised project cost of $706,087.14 for the rebuild of filter number 4 at the water treatment plant, and find that the additional $156,087.14 in funding be drawn from the water capital reserve to fully fund the project.
Thank you. Director of Public Works, you may proceed.
you Madam Mayor and council. As you know, the town has been undertaking a multi-year effort to modernize and upgrade our water treatment infrastructure to ensure safe, reliable, and compliant drinking water for our residents. Filter number 4, one of the 4 primary filtration units at the plant, is currently being rebuilt. However, due to a more comprehensive project scope, rising material costs, increased engineering requirements, and a best practice contingency, the total cost has risen to just over $706,000. An increase of approximately $156,000 from our original budget. But please note that 1/3 of this is a contingency cushion. Delaying the project is not advisable. Filter 1 is scheduled to be rebuilt next year, but is already showing signs of severe wear. If filter number 4 is not completed soon and filter 1 fails, we risk falling below the minimum number of operational filters required to meet demand and regulatory standards. This exposes the town to unnecessary risk, emergency repair costs, and potential service disruption. To proceed responsibly, we're recommending that the additional funds be drawn from the Water Capital Reserve. This reserve was established for exactly this kind of situation, unanticipated yet essential capital investment in our critical water infrastructure. We're also optimistic that this project will be eligible for NORD's funding, which, if approved, would help preserve our reserve for future needs. In short, this is a proactive and necessary investment in the long-term resilience of our water system. I respectfully recommend council approve the revised project cost and the use of reserve funds to move forward without delay.
we're open to question. And we have an Aqua representative here today, Patrick Roy, who will help me answer some questions if there should be any.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? Councillor Owen?
Yes, through you, your worship. There's no question repair has to be done. That's not what I'm concerned about. This is not the first time that Aqua has come back partway through a job with a major increase to the ratepayers of Kirkland Lake. And that is of concern to me. During my first term of council, I constantly heard how Aqua was the best in the province, had the expertise, the engineers, and they could get them in from all over the province to help them with their projects. Now, here again, to me, what should have been an accurate estimate of what the job was to cost didn't happen. And Aqua's back saying we need more money to complete the job. I know that can happen from time to time. But to me, it seems it's happening too often, and this is cause for concern. I would rather see them come in with an overestimate of the costs for council to consider, because it is absolutely work that has to be done, than to come in underestimating and then coming back and saying, well, we need 156,000 more. There's something wrong with the system, and I'm not sure what it is. And I'm not sure that there is an answer to my concern.
Councillor Shava?
Through your worship to the director. First of all, I agree that this has to be done. The risk is too high to the municipality of doing it. That being said, I'd just like to know the process, their process of getting bids for something like this, or is this something that they do internally? Because we've got an idea of maybe 3 or 4 bids, and then we'll look at one. We'll be in better position to see if we're really getting the best for taxpayers, right? So I don't know what the process is. I mean, we have a number here. Is that number? Does that number emanates from the bidding process by Aqua, or is it what they've figured that they would do if they had to do it internally? So I'm not too sure what's behind this figures here. Can you shed any light at all, please?
I invite Pat Roy.
Yes, we'll invite you to come to the table, sir. Thank you and welcome. We do appreciate your presence.
Thank you.
My name is Patrick Roy, Operations Manager with Aqua. What the number that you're seeing now, and just to correct you, it's not in a job, the job hasn't started yet. And just to speak to your question of where the number came from. So the original number given was on the capital letter, that's given every year. And those are just soft numbers, I got those numbers from the previous years. But they weren't tendered, they're not accurate numbers at all, they're just guesstimates as to what project will cost. The expenditure request that was handed in to the director, those are actual numbers, so those are quoted. And what I try to do is exaggerate a little bit on the labor, so we will come under budget every time. Under previous management, it might not have been done that way, it's my first year as manager, so I'd just like to say that moving forward, I believe, we will be on budget and under budget. So as I said, the expenditure request given those factual numbers there, and the original number is not necessarily meant as a solid number for the project. There was no way of knowing that at the time.
Just to add a little bit to that. Aqua is being cautious with us and very open and transparent upfront. I would much rather see a contractor that comes in and advises ahead of time that there's gonna be an increase in cost than to overrun the project and then ask for forgiveness later. So I think that Aqua is being
professional in their approach.
I do appreciate that. Anything further from members of the council? Councillor Owen?
Yes, through you, your worship. I don't know if we can avoid this situation or not in the future. But when it comes time for us to do our town budget, it's important for us to have as accurate as possible numbers. So I don't know if there's something in your process that can change so that, like you're saying now, okay, we've got the detailed numbers, but we didn't have the detailed numbers when I first come in, if I understand what you're saying. It would really help town council, if we could get the detailed numbers in time for our budget. And I know you can't predict breakdowns, that's totally different. But, you do have an idea of when pumps are gonna wear out, and filters are gonna wear out, so. If you could make that change, that would help us a lot. Thank you.
Councillor Owens?
You, Madam Mayor, I don't have a problem the way Aqua does things, I'm glad we have them to run our water. But as this was going on, something key. Correct me if I'm wrong, until we pass our budget. Aqua doesn't know if we're gonna move forward with the project or not, so they can't go to tender to get the proper numbers, right? So the responsibility falls back onto us to either pass our budget faster. To be able to get Aqua to get the proper numbers. That would make sense as well, right?
Part of the, sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, part of the process of budgeting, we were often at times asking for quotation from contractors 6 months or more in advance. And their quotations typically only hold 30 days to 90 days. Therefore, it's expected for prices to rise, and we do try to capture that by putting some contingency money, but it's difficult to put an exaggerated amount of contingency on every project as well. Then we don't end up being realistic either.
Thank you. Councillor Shava?
Oh, yeah, through you, your worship, just to follow up on my, question about the process. Again, I understand, what he's saying about, us not passing a budget and to do all that. But the point I'm trying to stress is that, I know you guys are doing a fine job and you guys are transparent and whatnot. There's some legislative requirements to what you do with that very well. But we're here trying to spend taxpayers' dollars, so it'd be extremely helpful, albeit we haven't had a budget. To at least, us be provided cost estimates, options, cost estimates. And how you derive or how you get your final numbers, and I get it that you just started, that you didn't know what happened at the past, but going forward. So I would be very comfortable if you guys come here and listen, we're asking for this 700 and something thousand, that was our estimate. Well, we did get 3 more other bids that are higher and lower or whatnot, and we came around to this number here because of the reputation of the contractor being low, because of all the things that done in the past, all of that. Then people out there, we know that we're spending their money wisely, because you have it, if you have a house, maybe if you do, you have contractor coming in to change the windows, you want to get quotes, maybe 3 or 4. Until you make a decision on one that may be the highest or not the highest, and at least you have that option. Right now, I don't know about all these fellow members. I don't think I have that option of saying, this number is high or low or medium or whatnot. I have no benchmark, I have no reference point to it. So maybe going forward, that might be something that I may suggest that, we're spending your tax dollars money. People want to see, how you put this to this one. Thank you very much.
Anything further from members of council? Nothing noted, all in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Item number 6.4, 2026 municipal elections questions on the ballot, moved by Councillor Shava, seconded by Councillor Dykens. Madam Clerk?
Be it resolved that report number 2025 ADM 006 entitled 2026 municipal elections, question on the ballot be received for information.
Thank you, and it will be yourself, Madam Clerk, Jennifer Montroy, presenting this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good afternoon, members of council. The Municipal Election Act provides council with the opportunity to submit a question to the electors at the polls, so that's during advance voting or on voting day. In the upcoming election, which is, I know, seems like a long time from now, but October 26th, 2026 is going to come very fast. And the reason for the report this evening is council has a lot of reports, has been receiving a lot of information and has some tough decisions to make in the remaining term of its council, and may want to use the avenue of question on the ballot to engage the public. So the question, if council so wish to pose a question to the public, the question must be passed by bylaw no later than March 2nd of 2026, which is not that far away. The question must be jurisdictional and exclude matters of provincial interest. It has to be clear, neutral, and one that an elector can answer yes or no to. And I'll speak to the 1991 question that that council had done to that effect. If council decides to repeal the question, the deadline to repeal that bylaw is the last day of nominations, which is August 21st, and that gives the clerk a 2-week window before the ballots get printed. And we would like to do some marketing as well on if there is the question on the ballot. So the adoption or decision to include a question has jurisdictional thresholds and strict timelines for approvals and appeals. So if so interested, staff would be required to prepare a couple of formal notices. Council would be required to host a public meeting, then allow for an appeal period to materialize after the passing of that bylaw, which is also known as a referendum. And if 50% of eligible electors vote in favor of the question, the town has to implement the action 14 to 180 days after voting. So that would be between November 9th, 2026 and April 24th, 2027. And if 50% of eligible electors voted against the question, then the council can't implement the action for their entire term. So at this time, the new council for their entire term. So at this time, staff do not believe that council has considered to submit a question. However, the report is being presented to provide the education on the option. Administration is also awaiting some statistical data from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing on the data that was collected for the 2022 election. And we'll make that available and additional information once it's been received for council's information. And I can say from my research in terms of the 1991 question that was in the report being. Sorry, page 172, 189 of the agenda, support or oppose full environmental assessment of the Adams Mine solid waste disposal and recycling project. 69% referendum on the ballot to engage in an environmental assessment. And it appeared that there was significant debate at the legislature on its implementation, its validity coming into question, specifically the jurisdiction, the clear and concise nature of the question in terms of getting an environmental assessment for land outside of the jurisdiction, determine if they wanted to go ahead with the project versus whether the intent was for the electors to say yes or no to accepting garbage from the GTA and outside of the jurisdiction that was polled. So very, very important that the clear, concise nature and the jurisdictional and non-provincial priorities come into play. So that is the reason for the report in such an early stage prior to the election and to give council some education on another forum to be able to potentially engage the community. That is all from me.
Thank you. Questions or comments from members of council? None noted. All in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Consideration of notice of motions are next. At this time, I will ask Councillor Dykens as acting mayor to take the chair. Thank you, ma'am.
So we're considering item 7.2, Mayor Stacy White, council conference attendance, moved by Mayor Stacy White, seconded by Councillor Rick Owen. And at this point, would you read the motion? Certainly.
Whereas the council conference attendance policy was approved on February 7th, 2023, to establish a consistent approach to the selection of and attendance of municipal governance related events by elected officials, along with the management of related expenditures. And whereas this policy indicates no more than 3 members of council, including the office of the mayor, may attend the same event. This ensures that the local presence of elected officials is achieved across all events. And whereas the town of Kirkland Lake encourages elected officials, council members to attend conferences and other events related to municipal governance, as these functions provide opportunities for education, networking, and promotion of the municipality. And whereas conferences such as OGRA, Roma, AMO provide opportunities for members of the council to delegate to Ontario ministers regarding issues of importance to the municipality, but other conferences currently do not. And whereas the council of the town of Kirkland Lake desires to balance the financial implications of attendance with the value brought to the municipality, now therefore be it resolved that council direct administration to review the current policy, and finally that an updated policy be brought forward prior to the budget process for 2026.
Fairway.
Thank you for, through you, acting mayor. Dykens, this conversation was actually started during the budget process by, Councillor Shaba. He brought this, through the conversation that are we getting the most kind of bang for our dollar? It came to my attention this last attendance, it was myself, Councillor Shaba and Councillor Dykens that went to Farnham, and we were experiencing internet issues. And it caused quite a large panic, because without us all being there, council wouldn't have been able to perform their duties, because there would have been lack of quorum. When we attend conferences, we want to make sure that we're spending dollars properly. Though I see a lot of value, and I bring back quite often best practices from other municipalities for discussion. At times, I question how many council members need to attend each conference. In the case of Farnham, it is one location. There is no outbreaking sessions. You are all together in a room, experiencing the same level of education, and in that, I think that it is worthy that staff be encouraged to investigate what other communities do. We want to ensure that we're spending dollars properly and we're getting a return on investment when we go to these conferences.
Councillor Owen.
Through you, acting mayor, I think the mayor made the case very nicely, so I will say no.
Anyone else?
Yeah. So you, Madam Acting Chair, yeah, I mean, I did not disagree with the mayor, the intent of this, but I can tell you from personal experience, having attended the Ontario Builders Association, I can confess now that it was not very beneficial to me as a council member. It was, however, beneficial to me in my other hat that I wear somewhere else. So, which is not why I went there. So I, you know, again, I think some of us have to be really, we have to think through some of this and to see what are we actually bringing back that will be of benefit to our community. I have never been to Roma, and I've never been to AMO. I mean, you guys done a good job to report back to us. But for me, OGRA is something different. And the other issue that I have is that, do we need that very many council member, as delegation to administer? I really don't think we do, because, my understanding is that when we do go there, when we delegate to minister, was only, you, yourself, or the CEO that will be making any presentation to the minister, and the others that may be with you, they have nothing to contribute. I mean, I don't know, this is just top of my head, that's my understanding. So that being the case, I mean, I can see 1 or 2 council members in supporting yourself as opposed to only one more council member supporting this house instead of having three council members, whereas some of them will not be in a position to say anything to the ministry. So I don't know how that works, but it's just that I don't see that pretty much helpful to our finances. But again, I don't see three is needed. Maybe two is needed, and then we really have to sit down and decide for all these years, some of these conferences, which ones are really better for us, for our small community. And I've been to Fadam, there are a lot of communities that I don't even show up there. Okay, maybe they don't see any relevance or anything helpful to their community. So we have to do the same thing too, because we cannot afford to be everywhere. You know, we're not we're not Sudbury, we're not North Bay, we're not Toronto. We can't afford to be everywhere. We have to be mindful of the cost of being everywhere. But I understand and get the exposure. Well, let's try to get the ones that we think will give us the best exposure. And the best, you know, savings, or the best money that we can bet on. So I'm all in favor of the intent of this, but I think it has to be looked at in the context of our finances. We can't just say, well, no, let's throw that out of the window. We have to look at it in context of what we can afford and what are the benefits. Thank you.
Councillor Owen?
Yeah, through you, acting mayor. I just wanted to say, and this is an education thing. When I go to AMO and we are delegating, I do speak. The way it's worked in the past is the CAO and the mayor make their formal presentations. And I often add on to that. I jokingly say that I'm the cheerleader, I bring the emotion and the enthusiasm, which I honestly believe is something we need to show. We need to show the pride in our community. So I just want to make that clear. I can always speak for myself, but whenever I've gone with the mayor and the CAO, I have spoken. But not the formal presentation.
Anyone else? Councillor Owens?
Through you, Madam Chair, or Acting Chair, I think it may be good to review the, I don't go to these conferences, my other hat doesn't permit me to. There's no little check mark in Mark Fine that says attend a municipal conference for a reason. Maybe it is good just to have the mayor and the CEO there to save some money somewhere, so I'm in favor of reviewing the policy and look forward to what staff have to find on this one.
Anyone else? Okay, I'd like to speak to this. I understand the financial idea. When we came up with this policy, each counselor was given a budget as well as the mayor was given a budget, and we were told we could use it as we saw fit. As Councillor Owens said, some don't have the schedule or calendar to attend. But even if 3 people are in a room or 50 people are in a room, you take away different things, and I think there is value to our municipality. I don't mean that all 7 of us have to go to, but I do believe as it currently stands that it is reasonable, and I think it is helpful. I think our town gains value from people because we talk to different people, we hear different things. I know probably Mayor White, sorry, I was looking at Kylie there. Your focus probably was on strong mayors power and meeting with the mayors, like, cause your interest is a little, well, we all have an interest for the town, but you have a different role to play, so you have different eyes. Yeah, so I just think there's value in more than just the mayor going to a conference. Anyone else want to speak? Thank you.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I do agree with you. I do see that there's value, and I don't think it should be the mayor alone. Although from a delegation standpoint, only the mayor and the CAO would suffice. The mayor does speak, politicians speak to politicians, and staff speak to expertise. So in that respect, I do believe that these two roles are fine. The value that I see with council member attending is the fact that if you want the chair in the future, you should have the opportunity to see what it looks like in the room with the ministers. So I do see value in having at least the mayor and a council member. If they choose to know, if they do believe they want to sit in the mayor's chair at a point, they should be afforded the opportunity to sit in those delegation rooms. Again, my only concern is, especially at items at FONUM, we're not bringing back anything different. We can present all the presentations, and all members of council have access to that for a period of time. But I just want to ensure, because I believe my budget is 12 grand and each council members is 6. So that is a considerable amount of money when we're actually not bringing education back. We can't teach the teacher. When we come back with our reports, we're basically saying, this is a cool thing I learned while I was there. So that is different than what I think the taxpayers would want us to be spending money on, in my opinion. But again, this motion is just for staff to relook at what they feel is best practices.
I'll just say one last, I think there's values in counselors going, even if they don't bring a robust report, because as business unfolds, there's things that you draw from that you've learned. When you've gone to conferences, you can serve the residents in a better way too, but I understand, okay. So are we asking for the vote now? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? No, unanimous.
Thank you, Acting Chair Dykens. I do appreciate you being acting mayor for the month of June and July. Moving on. I do want to note that item 7.1 was deferred, and item 7.3 is withdrawn due to my understanding that this will be coming forth via staff shortly. Item number 8 is introduction, reading, and consideration of bylaws. There are none this evening. Item number 9 is questions from council to staff, moved by Councillor Shabba, seconded by Councillor Owen. Councillor Owen, I'll get you to read 9.1, your question.
Yes, through you, your worship. The question is, when will the report on improving safety at the intersection of Second and Allen Avenue be presented to council for consideration?
Welcome back, Stefan Forsey, Director of Public Works.
Everyone, the report will be expected in the month of August. We made initial contact with the traffic coalition at the end of April. I'm giving them a couple of months to review Second Avenue. They'll be getting back to me first week of July. Therefore, I'm anticipating August. The report.
Thank you for that answer.
You're welcome.
Madam Clerk, you have a motion?
Yeah, moved by Councillor Shabba, seconded by Councillor Burgoyne. They resolve that council receive the response from administration on the question for information.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 10, notices of motion. Councillor Owen.
I'll be bringing forward a notice of motion concerning traffic control signage on government.
So noted. Anything from other members of council? I do have two myself. One regarding tax arrears. And the second is investigate tournament rates.
These are fees.
Yes. Item number 11, council reports. Does any member of council have anything they want to share about communities, board meetings that they've attended? Anything pertinent to being a council member in the town of Kirkland Lake? Councillor Owen.
Yes, been a busy month. In terms of committee meetings. But the one board that I would like to report on is the DSAP meeting. At the last meeting, DSAP presented its quarterly report, which is full of a lot of fun facts. And it's surprising how many different programs that they do in fact offer. I would say it's recommended reading to anybody who wants to know where our portion of DSAP money goes. But the part of the meeting that I found most interesting was the report on housing and homeless plan. They have collected data to move forward to develop a 10-year plan to eliminate homelessness in Kirkland, well, in Timiskaming. This includes expanding housing options on an ongoing basis, preventing homelessness before it happens. They need to make sure that people don't fall through the cracks, and there are various programs that DSAB offers that can help people to get make ends meet. Ensuring that support services are available and forming good partnerships. And DSAB is being very good at forming partnerships with both the Salvation Army, and we're talking in terms of homelessness, and mental health. Sorry. Canadian Mental Health Association, thank you. So the by name list is a list that's kept of the homeless people in the community. And since it started in November 2022, there have been a total of 248 names on that list. Currently, there are 28 people on it. Now, some of the things that are being done to help people to get off the homeless list, and this is voluntary, okay? The people volunteered to put their names forward. There's transitional housing. We have some traditional housing, transitional housing on Main Street, or Queen Street, sorry. The Women's Pavilion is also another avenue that's used. Couch surfing is something that is fairly common, from what I understand, in Kirkland Lake. So Steve Fox, who presented the report and is in charge of housing for DSAP, said that they've made positive strides in many areas and are working with community partners, moving to transitional housing. So the plan is you move into transitional housing and you learn to live on your own and not in the street. Then you go to supportive housing, where support workers will help you with whatever you need, so that and then that keeps people away from emergency shelters and has a longer term benefit. And then eventually the goal is that you will move into subsidized housing of one form or another, or right into market housing. The goal is to achieve zero homelessness in 10 years. which is a lofty goal. I think they will be quite successful in reducing it. But I firmly believe there is a small percentage of people who choose to live the homeless lifestyle. And I don't think those people will ever go into the program, but it's nice to see so much work being done in this area. And I think our money's being well spent by DSAT. So I also attended TMA, but I believe the mayor's gonna report on that, so that's it.
Thank you for that, Counselor Owen. Anything further from other members of council? Since the last meeting of council, after reaching out to the whole council via email to ask for input regarding budget 2026, in light of strong mayor powers, I received 3 emails in return with the same suggestion. After meeting with CAO, Treasurer and Director of Corporate Services, I determined to use the strong mayor powers to direct staff to present budget 2026 documents on or before the provincially set out deadline of February 1st for strong mayors, as well as to include a 3-year capital budget plan, with year 1 being approved in 2026 and years 2 and 3 to be accepted for information and future consideration. The town of Kirkland Lake has been featured in several media outlets because of this decision to use strong mayor powers. But as I stated, I feel strongly that this is a constructive and positive use of said powers for the greater good of the community. It is my hope that staff will be able to get the RFPs and RFTs out earlier, therefore allowing construction to begin in summer months rather than sometimes late in the fall, as well as providing greater transparency to our community members with advance warning of large and often costly projects projected to happen in future years. I met with members of the KL Pride, and I encourage members of the public who can financially donate to the cause of raising pride flags on Government Road and other pole banners to reach out to them via their social media. The Director of Development and Enterprise Services and I took part in the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario AIDS podcast. We are the first community to be featured, in part because of our newly developed strategic plan. It was a great pleasure to share everything that Kirkland Lake has to offer with them, and the episode will be available on their website soon. I attended the public library meeting in which the MOU was presented as board chair and mayor, both. We look forward to welcoming the CAO Smith to our next regular meeting to discuss that issue. Councillor Owen and I attended Timiskaming Municipal Association, in which several items of importance were discussed, including a report on the opportunities for municipal policy or action in Timiskaming, incidental cabins on Crown land, fauna updates from President Danny Whalen, windmills on Highway 11 farmland, and a brief exotic animal update. On that note, I would like to stress that more communities need to support the motion regarding the utmost importance of Ontario government passing legislation surrounding exotic animals. The issue should not be left up to our local animal control officers. So if you have any inroads with other elected officials throughout the province, I strongly ask you to consider selling that motion. I attended the convocation ceremony at Northern College. I cannot express how important having the campus here is to the vitality of Kirkland Lake. The institution of Northern College began here in our community. The Kirkland Lake campus is the flagship of all that Northern College has become. I am a proud graduate, and I encourage everyone in the room and listening at home to lend your support to this institution, reinforcing the need to keep it in Kirkland Lake. Tell your stories. How are you connected to the campus? I know most of the community at least has one story to tell, be it a course you attended, an event you took part in, or even being a current or future employee. Make a social media post and tag the college in it. Let them know how important Northern College is to Kirkland Lake. I'll have a mover. Councillor Owens, seconded by Councillor Owens.
Be resolved that the verbal updates for members of council be received.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item number 12, additional information. There are several this evening. Item 12.1, public notice of the zoning bylaw amendment for 12 and 14 Station Road South, moved by Councillor Owen, seconded by Councillor Owen. And, yeah, sorry, Madam Clerk will be speaking to this issue as well.
Certainly, through you, Madam Mayor, to all of council. Excuse me, I've been working with the Director of Development and Enterprise Services to try to reduce processes. We reduced a six-step process to a three-step process. So moving forward, when there's a zoning bylaw amendment, we'll be receiving notice of the public meeting by way of additional information on your agendas. And the decision of the Planning Advisory Committee and the report from council, from staff will be presented at the same time as the public meeting. And thus resulting in that's the last meeting with the bylaws being presented for deliberation and debate from council, rather than for a 4 meeting cycle.
Excellent. The reading of the motion.
Moved by Councillor Rick Owen, seconded by Councillor Casey Owens, be it resolved that council sanction the call of a public meeting to hear an application for a proposed zoning bylaw amendment for 12 and 14 Station Road South, Crema, on Tuesday, July 8th, 2025 at 4:40 p.m.
All in favor? Oh, none noted. Item carried unanimous. Item 12.2, Northeastern Public Health 2025 budget, moved by Councillor Shava, seconded by Councillor Owens. Yep, go ahead. Madam Clerk.
Be it resolved that the additional information entitled Northeastern Public Health 2025 budget be received for information.
Any questions or comments?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Shava?
That through you, the worship, I just want the finance director to comment on the $440,000. Is it comparable to when we used to send to the listing, the old, the defunct, the listing of health, or this is much, this is an increase compared to what we used to.
Through you, Madam Mayor. It is an increase. Their public information, I haven't looked at the actual math between the old health unit and the new one. It is an increase. Their public information and the information they've given us through their materials is they're targeting a 4% increase for us and some of the other communities that were part of the Temiskaming Health Unit. The members from the other health unit are getting a 10%. It is increase, so 4% for us, it's approximately $16,000. It's not that far off of what we've been charged, the increase that we were seeing under the health unit, so it's consistent. But they're announcing 4% per year for a period of time. So, that's roughly the dollar implication in the budget. And for the foreseeable future, that's what we're kind of expecting.
Follow up?
Please, your worship, I see this per capita of $65.56. Is this something that we used to before? That number as well, or this just something that come up with?
I don't know that we had as much information from the previous health unit, like the details of how it was breakdown of the billings. But being consistent, I'd be surprised if there was a significant difference in the makeup of the billing.
Thank you.
Anything further from members of council? All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous as well. Thank you, sir. Item number 12.3, proclamation Elder Abuse Awareness Day, June 15th, 2025. May I have a mover? Councillor Owen, seconded by Councillor Shaba.
Be it resolved that council sanction the proclamation for Elder Abuse Awareness Day, June 15th, 2025 in the town of Kirk.
Thank you. Whereas the town of Kirkland Lake older adults deserve to live safely with dignity and valued as contributing members of society, imparting a wealth of experience and wisdom in the community. And whereas every older adult has the right to live as independently as possible, with the supports they need. And whereas the International Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse, in support of the United Nations International Plan of Action, proclaimed this day to recognize the significance of elder abuse as a public health and human rights issue. And whereas the victim services of Temiskaming and District have reached out to bring awareness to elder abuse in our community to foster awareness and education. And whereas through Elder Abuse Prevention Ontario, the Temiskaming District is fortunate to have the Temiskaming Elder Abuse Task Force, being a committee representing a diverse group of service providers and interested individuals who are committed to improving the wellness of seniors through education and awareness about the prevention of elder abuse. And whereas elder abuse is most often defined as any act that harms a senior or jeopardizes their health or welfare. And whereas the town of Kirkland Lake recognizes the importance of taking action to invest in creating social change, to prioritize the prevention of elder abuse and raise awareness to foster a better understanding of abuse and neglect of older adults and their rights. And whereas elder abuse has a significant impact on the lives of older adults and families and is not limited to race, gender, culture, or circumstance. And regardless of whether the abuse is physical, emotional, sexual, financial, or neglect. And whereas recognizing that it is up to all citizens, communities, organizations, and governments to work collectively to prevent violence and abuse of older adults in their homes and communities. And whereas where there is respect for human rights, equality, and justice, there can be no abuse. And the town of Kirkland Lake residents are urged to join in the global movement to provide the rights of older adults and stop abuse and restore respect. Now, therefore, I, Stacey White, Mayor of the town of Kirkland Lake, encourage all of our residents to recognize and celebrate the accomplishments of our community's older adults and do hereby proclaim June 15th, 2025 as Elder Abuse Awareness Day in the town of Kirkland Lake. All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item 12.4 proclamation Seniors Month, June 2025, moved by Councillor Dykens, seconded by Councillor Shaba.
Be it resolved that council sanction a proclamation for Seniors Month, June 2025 in the town of Kirkland Lake.
Whereas the month of June marks 40 years of celebrating Seniors Month in the province of Ontario. And whereas this year's theme, Working for Seniors, emphasizes the continued importance of supporting older adults through the right programs and initiatives that provide wellness, social engagement, and education in our community. And whereas the town of Kirkland Lake is an age-friendly community and includes outdoor spaces and buildings that are accessible for seniors, provides accessible communication about services and programs, and social and civic participation opportunities for all seniors. And whereas the town of Kirkland Lake recognizes that senior citizens play an important role and contribute immensely to our community's development, and we can all benefit from their wisdom, friendship, and experience. And whereas we are committed to working for seniors and thank those seniors who act as our leaders, mentors, volunteers, and active members of our community. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Stacey White, the Mayor of Council of Town of Kirkland Lake, do hereby proclaim June to be Seniors Month in the town of Kirkland Lake. All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 12.5 proclamation Indigenous Peoples Day, June 21st, 2025, moved by Councillor Owen, seconded by Councillor Owens.
Be it resolved that council sanction a proclamation for Indigenous Peoples Day, June 21st, 2025 in the town of Kirkland Lake.
Whereas on June 21st, Canada will celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day, a day for all Canadians to acknowledge the unique heritage, diverse cultures, and outstanding contributions of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. And whereas in cooperation with Indigenous organizations, the Government of Canada chose June 21st, the summer solstice, for National Aboriginal Day, now known as National Indigenous Peoples Day. And whereas for generations, many Indigenous peoples and communities have celebrated their culture and heritage on or near this day due to the significance of the summer solstice as the longest day of the year. And whereas Kirkland Lake is home to a strong Indigenous community and would like to acknowledge their continued contribution. Now therefore, I, Stacy White, Mayor of the Town of Kirkland Lake, do hereby proclaim June 21st, 2025 as Indigenous Peoples' Day in the Town of Kirkland Lake. All in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Item number 13, closed session. There is none this evening, and therefore, item 14, there are no matters from closed session. Item number 15, confirmation bylaw, number 15.1, bylaws, number 25-030, moved by Councillor Dykens, seconded by Councillor Owen.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and a seal of the corporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 2530 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. And item number 16, adjournment, moved by Councillor Dykens. Thank you, everyone.